All right, good morning, everyone, on our StreamYard Live on our WIBW News Facebook page and our Kansas Ag Network Facebook page as well, and also on our YouTube pages. We're just about set to go with our Ag Issues program coming up on 580 WIBW as we get a preview of Shop Kansas Farms Market of Farms event coming up April 29th in Lyons. We'll talk more about that, plus the fact that of course, now Shop Kansas Farms in the hands of Kansas Farm Bureau. And we're also going to talk about that just amongst the topics as well. I jokingly say that if I look a little lost as I'm hearing the AM feed in this year, and then I'm hearing soon will be Meagan Cramer and Rick McNary in this year. So when you get two different voices coming through your head, sometimes it gets a little complicated, but such is life at 6 a.m. So, and then Rick McNary is joining us here as we're just about set to go on 580 WIBW. And so we'll go live on 580, but we thought we'd come in a little early here on our StreamYard feed, and we're about 10 seconds away from going live on 580. So stand by. Good morning, everyone. Glad to have you with us on the program this morning as we are on our StreamYard feed as well. You can go to our Facebook page at 580 WIBW and also on our YouTube page as well, as we are going to talk Shop Kansas Farms as we do periodically. And it's always great to be joined by Meagan Cramer, Director of Communications and Marketing with Kansas Farm Bureau. And we're also going to be joined by Rick McNary, who is the Shop Kansas Farms founder. And we're going to talk with both of them about a couple of big things. One is the next Market of Farms event that's going to take place on Saturday, April 29th. So we're just about 9 days away from that. And that will take place in Lyons. But we're also going to talk about the fact that Shop Kansas Farms now in the hands of Kansas Farm Bureau. And we'll talk about that as well. That's all coming up on the Ag Issues program here on 580 WIBW. Well, it's been a little noisy here last night and into the early morning hours. Right now, let's get an update on the forecast. Rick McNary is joining us again. We're back. We're running the weather here on 580 WIBW. Rick, did you guys get rain down there?
We did, and we are. Really a great sound to wake up to in the middle of the night.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It woke me up early this morning because we had a little hail mixed in with ours. So, hear that pinging off the roof and the windows and everything else. So, and now all of a sudden, I think our meteorologist said it could be like 25 tonight here in Topeka.
Wow.
It's like, here we go again.
Yep.
So,
wow.
If you, by the way, for those listening, if you've lived in Kansas long enough, it's just called Welcome to Kansas in the month of April. I mean, I won't say that other four-letter word weather-wise that starts with an S, because we've seen that before in the month of April, and I'd rather not see that right at the moment. So. All right. Stand by, and we'll get going here shortly. Well, just to give you a difference of what the temperatures are across the state right now, By the way, in Topeka, 57 degrees at Billett Airport, 56 at Ford Field with the thunderstorm in progress. Differences in temperatures, though, in Goodland, northwest Kansas, 36 degrees this morning with a wind chill of 25. In the southeastern part of the state, south central as well, the highest temperature, 72 this morning in Chanute with a gusty south wind. That's the other thing, as the winds are gusty across the state of Kansas. On this morning's Ag Issues program and also on our StreamYard feed that you can see on our Facebook page at 580wibw.com and also streaming live on our YouTube page as well. Joining us is Meagan Cramer, Director of Communications and Marketing with Kansas Farm Bureau. Meagan, good morning.
Good morning, Greg.
And also joining us, the founder of Shop Kansas Farms, Rick McNary, who also joins us on the program this morning. Rick, always good to see you. Good morning.
Likewise, and thanks for having us, Greg.
Well, I appreciate it very much. And Meagan, I'm going to start with you. Let's talk about the upcoming event, the Market of Farms event that is going to be taking place coming up this Saturday, or excuse me, a week from Saturday, April 29th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Celebration Center and Bar Arena. And, you know, the success that the previous events have had, but also it's such a great opportunity for those who participate in Shop Kansas Farms and for anyone who are interested in products from across the state to be able to come into the central part of the state to see some of those products.
Yeah, so this will be the second Market of Farms in Lyons. And on that webpage, so if you go to shopkansasfarms.com and click on the events page, you can find the Market of Farms information there. And we have our list of vendors. So you can see, again, we've got a great group of people coming that want to connect with folks who are interested in direct-to-consumer purchasing. And I think we are expecting another great turnout. Hopefully the weather cooperates. Like you were just saying, we never know what kind of weather we get. Last year it was beautiful. So hopefully, again, we'll get that same weather this year. But I think it'll be another great event. And Rick reminded us this will be like the third anniversary of Shop Kansas Farms. So it's another great opportunity to celebrate that as well.
You know, Rick, I go back to it wasn't too long after it was started. Your idea that you had was started, and I still remember to this day that when you and I were talking during actually live during the Ag Issues program, that it went above 5,000 people that joined the Shop Kansas Farms Facebook page as well. And now here we are 3 years later. It's pretty amazing still to this day to see the growth of what we have seen so far.
It is, and it really gives me a lot of pleasure to connect the consumers to the farmers. I've been writing about farmers for several years for Kansas Living Magazine, part of Kansas Farm Bureau. And I learned to fall in love with the farmers and ranchers across the state as I interviewed them and wrote their stories. And truly one of the greatest privileges and pleasures I've had with Shop Kansas Farms is introducing literally hundreds of thousands of people to the farmers and ranchers of Kansas, so they will fall in love with them like I have. Plus, it's made farmers and ranchers money, and I like that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, when this started, and exponentially how it has grown, what have been some of the, I guess, the comments that you've received or the feedback that you received as this has grown to what it has become, as to the effect that it's had, you know, for the farmers and ranchers out there that are able to sell their wares right through their home site or be able to get their contacts out for those who are interested in the product?
So from my standpoint, you know, to hear from the farmers and ranchers that it gave them a new market, as those who were suddenly faced with not being able to know what to do with their livestock or their beef or their meat. It gave them an opportunity by using the small local lockers to be able to provide and to sell some of the stuff that they didn't know they were going to be able to. And it gave them we've seen some numbers that are just staggering of the number of beef that were sold through this that people had not even anticipated. And it kind of kept their farms afloat. And that was really an important point. Plus, it just introduced them to literally hundreds of thousands of people. We've got somewhere around 160, 170,000 currently that are in our membership stuff. But, I'm told that, you can at least believe that there's 750 to 1,000 million people who know of the brand of Shop Kansas Farms. And so along the way, people have dipped in and dipped out, and they've learned to buy from farmers. They've learned to meet them. And so from farmers, we've learned that they made money. And to me, that's been one of the most important things. And they've also learned how consumers want to be communicated to and what their questions are and what their language is. So from the farmer standpoint, from the consumer standpoint, I think one of the most powerful statements we ever saw was a lady who said to the farmers, we don't live off the land, we live off the store shelves. And when those shelves were empty, it struck a fear in our hearts that we'd never known before. We didn't know what to do. And yet you stepped in and you, in essence, said, we've got your back. We've got the food that you need. And calming public fears was one of the things that farmers did right off the bat with the pandemic and the shutting down of the supply chain. But then along the way, consumers have fallen in love with the farmers.
And Meagan, I want to get your perspective as well, because you've basically been there really helping with Rick, being an administrator of the Shop Kansas Farms Facebook page as well. And kind of echo your thoughts since the beginning on what you have seen, the growth and so many things that have happened in these 3 years.
Yeah, the thing that I enjoyed the most was seeing the connections that were made. So farmers learning how to talk the language of consumers, and then consumers learning what it means to buy a side of beef and, what kind of freezer space you need, what questions you need to ask. So to me, that was one of the most exciting things of this, is seeing those connections being made. I didn't grow up on a farm, and so I understand the consumer questions, but working at Farm Bureau, I understand the farmer side. So that's one of my passions, is bringing those two groups together, because we all care about food, but we all talk about it in a different way. We all think about it in a different way, consumers compared to farmers and ranchers, which is what Rick said. And so having the opportunity to be part of it and see those conversations happen and the learning that happened was really exciting to me. Yeah, like Rick said, ranchers learned how to communicate about food that's not about the animal necessarily. It's about what ends up on your plate. Like, how do you market that? Like, ranchers really care about the total process, and which makes sense. But a consumer doesn't care, doesn't want to know the details. They want to know, am I going to buy from you? And is it going to be really good? So that was what I really enjoyed. And then again, like consumers just learning, like, okay, I'm going to come on there and say, I want to buy a cow. And then ranchers will come on there and say, no, you don't want to buy a cow. Like, let's have this conversation about what you really want. So I enjoyed that. And then, like Rick mentioned, the fact that people were either able to really create, maybe they had a business already and they were able to use Shop Kansas Farms to keep, market it even more. Maybe it got an idea started, and then that direct to consumer wasn't something they had thought about, but this provided an opportunity for them to really get in there and try it, and it took off. And then we have some that are still kind of, testing the waters a little bit. And those are the folks that I'm also really excited about as we move Shop Kansas Farms forward, is helping those folks that are still thinking about, is this for me? How do I start a business like this? So providing those opportunities to build those businesses as well, I think is exciting.
And you both talked about the education part of that, and as we go back to the second Market of Farms, it's going to be taking place in Lyons coming up on April the 29th. Rick, let me ask, education is so much a part of this, but a face-to-face like this for so many of these farmers and ranchers of those businesses that are going to be coming to this event, having that face-to-face conversation with those who attend the event, boy, that's priceless as far as being able to talk to that individual consumer.
You're right. It is priceless. And so that interaction with them, and the uniqueness about the Market of Farms is that it brings vendors from all over the state. A lot of farmers markets just bring vendors that are local, but the Market of Farms, we've kind of changed the way the name is, and because it's a different concept, and that it brings vendors. So there will be vendors from all over the state and in Lyons. And the unique thing also, it brings consumers and customers from truly all over the region. There will be people there from Oklahoma and Colorado, and people there from Texas and Missouri and Nebraska, because they've been following these farms. And so they want to meet them, and they come with a list of questions, and they come to buy. That's what we heard with the Market of Farms. The farmer said people came to buy, not to browse. And so they come with an intent that they're going to purchase something, but they want to know about it. And so the farmers have this interaction, and we just have tons of pictures of people talking to the farms and the producers and the ranchers, and getting their questions answered and asked. It also helps the farmers and ranchers to understand what people are asking and what they need to be prepared for, and how they can actually market to that type of consumer, knowing that that's going to be the question. You don't always see those questions in the Facebook group or in DM, but when it's a conversation, and one of the basic sales principles we all know is that people buy from people, and it gives them an opportunity for the farmer and rancher to build a new customer base, and to build upon their current customer base, but especially for the consumers to meet the farmers and ranchers and ask their questions.
All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about the Shop Kansas Farms Market of Farms event, and also the fact Kansas Farm Bureau, it's now in the hands of Shop Kansas Farms. Meagan Cramer with Kansas Farm Bureau and Rick McNary, the Shop Kansas Farms founder, they're our guests on our Ag Issues program here on 580 WIVW. Rick, I also laughed because I saw you get us drink, and I saw you had an orange one too. I kind of chuckled. Because I know, Meagan, it has to be purple in Manhattan.
Well, I have a kid that goes to KU though, so.
Oh, that's true. Or black and gold for Wichita State.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. Just for those who are watching the live stream, we're in a commercial break right now on 580 WIVW. So soon we'll be back going. And again, just to tell people, go to the Shop Kansas Farms website, shopkansasfarms.com, or follow them on their Facebook page as well for all the great information actually about the website, and the fact that Kansas Farm Bureau Shop Kansas Farms now in the hands of Kansas Farm Bureau. Those are going to be some of the topics that we will talk about in the second part of the Ag Issues program. So we'll be set to go here in just a bit, as we're talking with Meagan Cramer with Kansas Farm Bureau and Rick McNary, the founder of Shop Kansas Farms. We are back on the Ag Issues program here on 580 WIVW. As We're talking about the next Market of Farms event for Shop Kansas Farms coming up Saturday, April 29th in Lyons. You can go to shopkansasfarms.com to get more information, or you can follow them on their Facebook page as well. You're also watching this on StreamYard. You also see the web addresses there at the bottom of your screen. Rick McNary, the founder of Shop Kansas Farms, is joining us, as well as Meagan Cramer, Director of Communications and Marketing with Kansas Farm Bureau. Well, Meagan, one of the things I wanted to mention, of course, now Kansas Farm Bureau now are the owners of Shop Kansas Farms, and the launching of the website not too long ago, about a month ago, as a matter of fact. And just talk about how that has been going with this transition.
Yeah, so Rick came to us and asked if we would be interested, and we said absolutely, but only if Rick stayed on. So he's stuck with us for a while, which is good. But yeah, like you said, we launched the new website on Ag Day. So we didn't bring any of the farms that were on the old site onto the new site. We wanted people to re-register. So we're building that back up. It's still got that map that you can search and find folks around you. It's a really helpful, I think, tool that Rick and his wife created. We brought that back. The new website really just helps us do some more things on the back end. And then we have opportunities for folks to advertise themselves that weren't available on the old site. So super excited about that. And then we've got so we have opportunities for communities to host Market of Farms, just like Lyons has done. And then we are also building out opportunities for communities to start having conversations on regional food systems. So Farm Bureau obviously values rural communities, and we know that when farmers and ranchers prosper, the community prospers. And so that's a passion of Rick's, our regional food systems. And so when he talked to us about, I really want to work on this, we thought it was a great opportunity for us to partner with him and bring these to communities throughout Kansas. So we're building those out and working on that. It's a process, but it's a really exciting process. And to see what they're already doing in Lyons with the Harvest Hub is just a lot of fun to see, and to envision that can happen across the state, I think is exciting.
A couple of things, Rick, make sure we want to mention for those who attend the Market of Farms events, there are also workshops that are going to be taking place during that.
You bet. Education has just always been such a huge part of what we do. And so it's both kind of educating consumers. There'll be workshops led by, farmers and ranchers on how do you buy a side of beef? What does that look like? So if you're a consumer and you've never done that before, or you've got a lot of questions, it's a great place to go. But also there will be Kelsey from the Department of Agritourism, Kansas Agritourism will be there about how you can get your farm into that deal. There will be how to grow honey or bees and do honey from Next to Nature Farms and Chad Gilliland. So some practical things for people that want to maybe even get into the business or consumers that want to buy. So once again, we'll reach both the farmers and producers with giving them educational opportunities as well as consumers to help them understand how things work.
You talked about, or Meagan talked about, and I know it has been a lifelong passion for you about regional food systems, on what you're able to do, the ability to spend more time to really work on that. I know was, as Meagan mentioned, was one of the reasons why you consummated this sale with Kansas Farm Bureau.
Yeah, and that passion began with Dr. Kirk Kastner, actually, clear back in 2010, I believe it was. I was at an ag conference. I'm not a farmer. I know nothing about them other than what I've learned by writing about them. But at the time, I knew nothing. But I've been involved in international hunger stuff, and I realized if I'm going to be in the fight against hunger, I need to understand what the people do who feed us. So Kirk Kastner talked about direct to consumers, and I didn't know much about that. Then he talked about a food system being really important, a local food system. I didn't know what that was either, and he broke it down into three things. It's the production, the growing of a plant or an animal, and then the processing. What do you do with that when it reaches a point of maturation so it can go to be ready for human consumption, and then distribution. So those 3 points. Now we have a wonderful global supply system and a food system, but he was talking at the time about a need for local ones, being like backup mechanisms and resilience mechanisms, as well as rural prosperity mechanisms. But he also pointed out to me that on a local level, what's often missing is that processing component. There's no commercial kitchens local, or for people to take their tomatoes and have a value-added product in the commercial kitchen. Suddenly it's, becomes Uncle Buck's salsas that they have a national market. And so as I've worked with like the Rice County and the City of Lyons as they started this, so that's what they're doing. They're identifying places that there are commercial kitchens like in a school, that they can make available to the public, or in the local research office, and how they as a community. So there's really 2 legs of the regional food system that I've created or working on with people. And one is, it's about economic development. It's about creating business opportunities for existing businesses, as well as helping new businesses get started. Like Meagan said, there's a lot of people who want to grow food. They might not be able to afford 1,000 acres and a $100,000 tractor, but they've got they can do some produce and turn it into value added. And truly what we've seen in 3 years is the value added products are some of the most prosperous and marketable ways for people to grow. But the other component of that is it's brought together as a community. It's a community that builds itself around food. And as we all know, food is one of the greatest common denominators of human existence. We all like a good barbecue. Everybody gets together, and it's a great way to create unity in a community as they support and create good food for local as well as for national distribution.
All right. Well, folks, we're going to have to end it there. Once again, next Market of Farms event is April 29th, coming up on Saturday. You can get more information by going to shopkansasfarms.com. When you do, just click on the events page to see all the information about the event coming up in Lyons. Rick McNary, founder of Shop Kansas Farms. As always, a pleasure, my friend.
Likewise.
Meagan Cramer, Director of Communications and Marketing with Kansas Farm Bureau. Very much appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
This has been Ag Issues here on 580 WIBW. Stay with us when we come back. We'll get an update on the news headlines, and we'll check the weather forecast. That comes up next.